What it do, people? Jacob here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. This is week 1. We are finally here. Regular season is upon us. It feels fantastic that we had that long off season and we are finally here. And we still got some things to discuss. We still got some things to figure out about the Miami Dolphins. Not everything is clear cut. Not everything is answered. And obviously, today we don't have all the answers, but I think we have a pretty good idea about how the Miami Dolphins running back group is going to look. So last year, it was the 1A, 1B show of Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane, and I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw last year. I think it's going to be by far them two and then everybody else on the roster. It's going to be a massive cliff between Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane to everybody else on the roster. So now that we got that part of it out of the way, I want to look more at the 1A, 1B situation between Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. A lot of people coming into the season naturally would assume that Devon Achane, now going into year number 2 of this offense, year number 2 as a NFL pro, would step up, take more of the lion's share snaps at the running back position over Raheem Mostert. I'd say, in fact, that's a pretty safe assumption to make with a bunch of the rookie running backs this year. You look in Atlanta with Bijan Robinson. He was already kind of a workhorse last year, but I think he's going to be truly a workhorse for that Atlanta Falcons team, especially with what Raheem Morris has said about wanting to run the ball in Atlanta. Jahmyr Gibbs up in Detroit, him and Monty are a very similar duo dynamic to what we have down here in Miami, but Jahmyr Gibbs just a little bit bigger than Devon Achane and already saw a bigger snap percentage and touch percentage up there in Detroit than what we saw last year with Achane. So I do expect Gibbs, depending on how his injury right now is that he's dealing with, will increase. And even guys like Jerome Ford with the Browns, he's going to be the workhorse probably for the first 6-7 weeks of the season. Nick Chubb will come back around like week 5 or 6, but it's going to take Nick Chubb a while to get ramped back up with that really bad injury he had last year. So I think it's going to be a really good year for running backs going into their second year. But I am hesitant to believe that Devon Achane is now going to become the true one in this Miami Dolphins offense. So first, let's look back to just what things were like for the Miami Dolphins last year with both Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. Raheem Mostert obviously broke the Miami Dolphins record for touchdowns in a season, was the number 1 running back on the team, followed by Devon Achane. Raheem was the first and second down guy, with Devon Achane sometimes even getting on the field with Raheem Mostert while in those situations. They were very talented. It was a very good group for the Miami Dolphins to have a much bigger impression on the season than I expected from the two of them going into the year. But Raheem Mostert led the team in terms of being on the field in the running back room, snap percentage at 50%, just a little over 50% of the snaps. Raheem Mostert was on the field for the Miami Dolphins, whereas Devon Achane is just over 25% at 27.3%. And obviously, you have to take in consideration that Devon Achane did miss 6 games for the Miami Dolphins, and there were 2 games within the games he did play that he only got like 1 or 2 touches in the entire game. So really, you're looking at a 9-game sample size for Devon Achane in terms of what he did last year for the Miami Dolphins, only getting 27% of the snaps out of the running back room. Okay, so let's say he did play those 6 games. Let's say he did play a little bit more. You probably are pushing a little closer to 50%, maybe even over 50%. But a lot of Devon Achane snaps also are not in the backfield. A lot of the time he was lining out wide to the left, to the right, in the slot, inside slot, and Miami Dolphins finding multiple ways to use him. And I think that's going to be something very similar that we see this year. We look at preseason. I don't take a really strong stance from what I see just in terms of the yards, the touchdowns that we get from preseason. Like, I was still very skeptical about Eric Ezukanma and what he's going to be on the Miami Dolphins this season, despite him having a really good statistical preseason game in game number 2. But for the winners and losers for that week, I actually had Eric Ezukanma as a loser for the fact that he was in the game so long, getting those opportunities. Lo and behold, he gets cut. Dolphins bring him back to the team, and I think he's going to be one of those guys that they elevate him every single week until his weeks run out from practice squad, and then they bring him back to the full 53-man roster. I think that's going to be the case with Eric Ezukanma. However, I want to look at usage. I want to look at snap percentage. And again, this leans the way of Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert, in the one game where Tua was the starter for the Miami Dolphins, had 5 carries, wasn't very efficient, only 1.5 yards or so per carry, whereas Devon Achane got 2 carries and was looking a lot more efficient, just as he was all year last year, and also had 2 receptions for, I believe, like 20 yards or so. So what I take from that, as well as what I take from all last season, and if I'm not mistaken, Raheem Mostert was on the field just about every single snap that Tua was out there with the offensive starters is Raheem Mostert is the running back. Raheem Mostert is the RB1 for the Miami Dolphins. He's going to get the large share of the carries, but that does not diminish the role De'Von Achane has in this offense. Do I have doubts about De'Von Achane one day being a workhorse running back for the Miami Dolphins? Absolutely. I don't think he has the physical stature to hold up and be an RB1 anywhere in the league. He is one of the smallest running backs in the league, both in terms of height and weight, and we've already seen him get beat up by injuries last season. That is something that I do expect to be an issue with him throughout the entirety of his career. When you're 5'9", 180, 190 pounds, running directly into 6'6", 295 pounds, it's just a math equation. That's not a good equation for having a long NFL career. But what I do believe the Miami Dolphins have every intention of doing with De'Von Achane is pretty much exactly what we saw him do last year, just hopefully in a much more inclusive nature in terms of him being on the field. De'Von Achane is a guy that the Miami Dolphins can plug and play all over the field. I've said this time and time again. He is so incredibly talented. He fits this offense so well. His size, his speed, his ability to move in space is a blessing for a Mike McDaniel offense to be able to have a guy like that. You can line him up everywhere, reliable catcher. You're not going to run him in between the tackles, but just about everything else you ask him to do, except for maybe block, he can do at a very high level. So while I don't think he is going to surpass Raheem Mostert in rushing attempts on the season, I don't think he will be when the starters walk out to the field that very first play. I don't think we'll see many weeks where De'Von Achane is the number one guy lining up behind, alongside, whatever the case may be, of Tua. The numbers prove it. The usage use it. Looking at just eye test, it proves it. Smaller guy, has his explosion, has his speed, but Raheem Mostert, crazy enough, more reliable in terms of durability, which is something that if you look at every year prior for Raheem Mostert, just simply wasn't something you could say. And that is an avenue for De'Von Achane to be the true number one guy in this offense. And obviously that will then boost up Jalen Wright. Raheem Mostert had a career season in his 30s, a guy who has been beat up throughout his entire career in the NFL. Whether it was with the 49ers, whether it was when he was bouncing around teams, he has always been hurt, and he had almost a clean slate of health, not completely clean, but almost a fully clean slate of health last year. So that is something that will continue to be looming over him, as he has not been reliable health-wise. But De'Von Achane, he's not going to get 300 rushes. He's not going to get probably 250 rushes. He'll probably float around 175 rushes, and then on top of that, 50 catches. Something that's a little bit of a misnomer is the Miami Dolphins actually don't throw to the running back a lot. Tua does not look for his check down. The passing game last year just entirely ran through Tyreek and Waddle, just sprinting downfield, getting open 20 yards down the field, or a long bomb over the top. So we don't actually incorporate the running backs nearly to the numbers we expect. I could be wrong on this exact stat, but I think we use them like the 26th most times in the NFL out of 32 teams passing to the running back. So, maybe look to see that increase a little bit, especially last year when we saw the Dolphins struggle to hit passes down the field. De'Von Achane maybe get an increase in catches, but I'd be very, very surprised if De'Von Achane got over 240 touches on the entire season. He has a talent that if we did give him the ball that many times, he could do a whole heck of a lot with it. Like 7.8 yards per touch or yards per carry last year was incredible from a rookie coming into the season when he was hurt, didn't get a lot of action, only really played in 9 games. I'm confident in De'Von Achane. I just really strongly think that Raheem Mostert is the clear one in the rushing offense, but De'Von Achane will be used otherwise as an incredible weapon for this Dolphins team. How do you think the Miami Dolphins should use De'Von Achane and Raheem Mostert? Let me know down below in the comments. We're getting so close to week 1, guys. We're getting so close. Donovan's going to be there on Sunday. I will not. I'll probably be watching from probably Hooters. So let me know where you're going to be watching the game from on Sunday. Appreciate y'all very much for watching. Make sure you go down there, hit that like button, hit that sub button. Appreciate y'all very much. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.